The neighborhood was quiet, just birds, breeze, and the low hum of peace. Until the day Karen Westfield decided she was judge, jury, and executioner over my backyard garden. The screech of her voice across my fence is something I'll never forget. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It all began on a perfect Sunday morning when I stepped outside to admire my freshly planted rose garden. I had spent 3 hours tending every bloom of those vibrant red roses, and the way they glowed in the sunlight was worth every minute. That's when I noticed her marching across the street, arms crossed, face twisted into that signature scowl that had become infamous throughout our neighborhood. "Excuse me," she called out, planting herself directly in front of my garden gate. "I need you to rip out those roses immediately." Her voice carried that unmistakable tone of someone who believed they had absolute authority. I just stared, wondering if this was a prank. "Karen, what are you talking about? This is my garden," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm despite my growing confusion. She jutted her chin upward, eyes narrowing. "Those roses are on my grandmother's heirloom seeds, and I don't know how'd you got them, but I'm calling the police if you don't destroy them right now." She held out her hand, as if I'd hand her a shovel to start digging. Within the hour, the police would indeed arrive, but they weren't coming for me. I had moved into Oakwood Estates just 3 months ago. After years of hard work, I'd finally purchased my dream home in what was supposed to be a peaceful upscale neighborhood. The rose garden in my backyard was the culmination of a lifelong passion, something I dreamed of since I was a kid sketching flowers in notebooks. What I hadn't anticipated was the immediate attention it would draw from the homeowners association, particularly from Karen Westfield, the HOA president, who seemed to take personal offense at my garden's very existence. From the day I moved in, Karen made it clear my roses were problematic. First came the politely worded notices about community aesthetic guidelines, then less polite comments whenever she spotted me pruning. "That color is really quite attention-seeking, don't you think?" she'd say with a sugary smile that never reached her eyes. "Most homeowners here prefer subtler plants." I always responded with an equally polite smile, while mentally calculating how many more roses I could plant without technically violating HOA rules. The situation escalated when Karen started leaving neon-colored violation notices on my mailbox. "Garden in violation of community guidelines. Inappropriately vibrant appearance," one read. Another claimed my roses were disruptive to neighborhood harmony. I checked the HOA bylaws, careful in nothing about flower colors or types. Only rules about yard maintenance. When I pointed this out at the next HOA meeting, Karen dismissed me with a wave. "The board reserves the right to interpret guidelines as needed for community welfare." The turning point came when I added a small trellis for climbing roses. It was an obtrusive, I'd chosen one that blended with the fence, but the new addition caught Karen's attention immediately. The next morning, I found her staring at my garden, taking photos with her phone. When she noticed me watching, she marched to my door and rang the bell repeatedly. "Your trellis is in violation of structural guidelines," she declared. "Remove it within 48 hours, or I'll have it dismantled at your expense." Her face was flushed with the thrill of control, and I could tell she was enjoying this far too much. "Karen, the trellis meets all city codes," I explained calmly. "I checked regulations before installing it." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "This isn't about city codes. This is about HOA rules, and as president, I determine what's a violation." The threat was unmistakable, but I refused to be intimidated. I nodded, thanked her for her concern, and closed the door. That night, I installed a security camera aimed at my garden just in case. It proved a wise precaution. Over the next 2 weeks, Karen escalated her campaign. She sent a community-wide email about certain residents disrupting tranquility with inappropriate landscaping. She called an emergency HOA meeting to discuss yard aesthetic guidelines, targeting gardens like mine. When that failed, she resorted to direct tactics. One Saturday, I caught her measuring my trellis with a tape measure, hoping to find a violation. When she saw me, she smiled and said, "Just doing my duty as HOA president. Someone has to maintain standards." The next day, I found a notice claiming my roses were attracting excessive bees. A complete fabrication I disproved with photos showing no such issue. Then came that fateful Sunday when Karen crossed the line from harassment to something more serious. I was outside, enjoying the morning sun, pruning my roses, when Karen stormed across the street. Neighbors were out, walking dogs or collecting mail, and they paused to watch as Karen positioned herself at my gate, arms folded like a human barricade. "I've had enough of this charade," she announced loudly, clearly for everyone to hear. "Those are my grandmother's heirloom roses, and I want them removed now." Her voice trembled with theatrical emotion, but something about her performance set alarm bells ringing. I stared in disbelief. "Karen, what? I bought these roses from a nursery 3 years ago. Don't lie to me," she shouted. "These are Gertrude's roses, same variety, same color. She passed away last month, and her seeds went missing from her greenhouse." She jabbed a finger at a rose. "You stole them, and I'll prove it." Neighbors drifted closer. Phones raised to record. I took a deep breath. "Karen, I'm sorry about your grandmother, but these are my roses. I have receipts to prove it." I reached for my phone, but she lunged, trying to grab my pruning shears. "Give me those tools," she demanded, face contorted with rage. "Those roses belong to my family." I stepped back, keeping the shears out of reach, which infuriated her further. "You're a thief, a common criminal who thought nobody would notice." "I'm calling the police," I said firmly. "This has gone too far." Karen's expression shifted to triumph. "I already did," she declared smugly. "I called 911 before coming over. I reported a theft in progress. They'll be here to arrest you and remove those roses." As if on cue, police sirens wailed, growing louder as the patrol cars pulled up. 3 officers approached cautiously, confused by the scene. Karen rushed toward them, pointing at me in my garden. "That's him, officers. That's the man who stole my grandmother's roses," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "I have photos of her garden at home. He must have dug them up." The lead officer, a woman with a calm demeanor, asked us to stay separated while they sorted it out. "Sir, can you provide proof of ownership for these plants?" she asked me. "Absolutely," I replied, opening my phone to my gardening app. I'd have receipts, order confirmations, and photos from the nursery. I handed her my phone, showing documents with my name. I also have physical copies inside. I retrieved the receipts and nursery contract. While I provided evidence, Karen grew agitated. "Those documents are forged," she insisted hysterically. "He photoshopped his name onto my grandmother's order. Check the rose variety." The officers examined my receipts, which confirmed the roses were mine, purchased 3 years ago. "Mom, can you provide documentation showing your grandmother owned these roses?" an officer asked Karen. Her confidence faltered, but she recovered. "I don't have them here, but I have photos of Gertrude with her roses. They're identical." The officer exchanged glances with her colleagues. "Mom, even if your grandmother had similar roses, that doesn't mean these are hers. All evidence shows these belong to this gentleman." Karen's face flushed. "You're not listening," she shouted. "He's manipulated the paperwork." She lunged toward me again, grabbing for my shears and tearing my sleeve slightly. The officers moved quickly, pulling her back. "Ma'am, calm down," the lead officer said firmly, but Karen was beyond reasoning. "You're all incompetent," she screamed, struggling. "Those are Gertrude's roses. I'm the HOA president, and I demand you do your job." She twisted free and grabbed at my shears again. That was the final straw. The officers restrained her, and despite her protests, placed her in handcuffs. "Karen Westfield, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, attempted theft, and assault," the lead officer stated, reading her rights. The shock on Karen's face was unforgettable, her eyes wide as if she couldn't believe. She was the one being arrested. "This is outrageous," she spluttered as they led her to the patrol car. "I'm the president of Oakwood Estates HOA. You can't arrest me for protecting my family's legacy." Later that day, neighbors told me Karen was charged with filing a false police report, attempted theft, and assault. The evidence was overwhelming, with witnesses and video recordings of her grabbing my shears. An investigation revealed Karen had no grandmother named Gertrude. It was a complete fabrication. The judge set her bail at $25,000 and issued a restraining order keeping her 100 feet from me and my property. The consequences were swift. Karen was removed as HOA president by an emergency board vote. Her employer, a local landscaping firm, placed her on unpaid leave when the story hit the news. With footage of her screaming, "Those are Gertrude's roses," while being arrested, her reputation was destroyed, and her sentencing 3 months later. Despite an expensive attorney claiming temporary emotional distress, the judge sentenced her to 6 months in jail, 2 years of probation, and a $5,000 fine plus court costs. As the bailiff led her away, her stunned disbelief was palpable, the reality of her actions finally sinking in. If you think Karen finally got what was coming to her, smash that like button and subscribe for more wild stories where justice actually wins.